Oh yeah, he's like, welcome back, nerds. Cat face. Yeah, so thank you, Top Cat.
Because we were missing in action.
Yeah, we were
for a couple of weeks.
But yeah, like, but just that, what I just did, like, I'm nurturing my audience.
Yeah,
and that's super important. Like, one of the biggest pieces of advice I learned, and just even like recently, like in the past few years, because like there were times where I wouldn't comment or reply to every comment that I get. You know, now there's some comments I won't respond to, like if someone
just straight trolling.
Yeah, straight trolling, or just they post a fucking incendiary thesis paper on how my video sucks. I'm not gonna respond to that. That's a waste of time. Don't do it. I'll just like read the first few lines and then I'll be like, okay, I get the gist of this. I'm not responding to this bullshit. Yeah. But
you think I suck?
Yeah, but if it's a good comment, I make sure to respond to them because the one way to turn your audience away from your product is to make it seem like they don't exist to you. Because if they don't feel like you're noticed, like especially if you're a small channel, there's no reason you shouldn't be commenting on the comments that respond to your video, like or whatever you do, or your comments on your tweets or your Facebook posts or whatever. Because if you're trying to promote yourself, you want to make sure that the audience that you attract know that they exist. You let them know that they exist.
Yeah,
that makes them feel good.
You want them to, you want them to kind of feel a little special.
Yeah, important.
And I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen a couple different industries, movie industries, comic industries, where I don't know what was going through their heads. Maybe they thought they were too big to fail, but they literally started treating fans like, screw you, don't care.
Oh, dude.
But you just give us your money anyways. And people started just later. Now the comic industry is in free fall right now.
Yeah,
no one wants to read any of that stuff.
Oh, did you hear about that comic? Like on Twitter, there was like this comic of Superman where they discovered a panel where like Superman lost his powers and was like captured by some Russian agents, and he was in a prison cell. Yeah, I'm like, holy shit. Like, and everyone who reacted to that, like, dude, what the fuck are you guys doing? They're like, oh, you're just bigots or some shit.
Well, it was, and again, there's these stupid arguments about like, oh, woke or non-woke or whatever. But, you know, actually, it's a Gundam. He did a great one, and he was sitting there like talking about the comic industry, and he's like, these comics are preaching to you. They're not giving you even a good story. Like Superman and his super boyfriend are out like protesting global warming.
Oh, you also have the X-Men that are eco-terrorists. I like saw one clip where I guess the bags were left in the ocean and I think a dolphin died. So then like some mutants went to like a store and just killed a guy randomly. You have gay Superman protesting global warming. The one dude who could do something about global warming would rather protest with his Asian boyfriend. Sounds like a gay thing to do to me.
He's like, this guy's got super freeze breath.
You can fly. You have X-ray vision.
Yeah.
You can lift the entire Earth.
Yeah. Well, and heck, Superman 3, the movie, I mean, he literally, Lois died.
Oh, yeah.
And so he freaks out, and the Earth's spinning one way, and he starts going the opposite direction, and he reversed time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and actually bringing it back to the Superman being violated and like the reaction to that. I totally understand the reaction that fans of Superman had.
Yeah,
when they saw that, because it's like, first of all, one, it's just super disrespectful to the character. For multiple reasons. One, Superman is an iconic figure in comics. You know, he's like fucking Mario. Like, it's like, dude, everyone knows who Superman is. And even if you don't like the character, you recognize him. He's important.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to see is him on his fucking knees, bent over with a dude behind him.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the apparently they don't show anything like that, but it's suggested.
It's heavily implied.
It's heavily implied he was. And it's like, that'd be like if Nintendo decided to make a Mario game where he was by Bowser. It's like no one wants to see that.
Yeah.
That's really stupid. And then when people get mad about that, like, what the hell, Miyamoto? What are you doing? Oh, you just fucking hate our games. You're haters. You know, like, you can't treat your audience with disrespect. You have to understand, like, even if your audience has because here's the thing, I will admit this, there are definitely fans that get a little too incendiary and they get a little bit too mad and they say things that are really over the top. I will agree with that.
Well, they don't do anything different than people that go to ball games and
Exactly.
drink some beer, and
Exactly.
someone goes, your pitcher sucks, and all of a sudden there's a fight happening.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it sucks when that shit happens, but that's not everybody. And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people that will. You gotta read the room. In fact, G4 recently, G4 TV recently got in this issue. Recently, I'm not gonna go over all of it, but yeah, there was this situation where they were like doing some review, or they were talking about the multiplayer for Red Dead Redemption, and then what was her name? Indiana Black, like, who
I know.
She fucking went on this rant unprompted about sexism in gaming, which I don't believe that's why she was doing that. Because if you actually, I might interject a clip here just so you guys know what I'm talking about.
But I actually want to talk about something so much more important than Red Dead Online: sexism in gaming. In joining G4,
This is not where I thought we were going,
I know,
but I'm here.
I had
I'm
no
here.
idea.
I'm listening. Yeah.
In joining G4, I was ecstatic to be part of something that I grew up watching as a child. But every time G4 is brought up in various channels, even in this YouTube channel, we have the chat in front of us. I can see you. Without a doubt, there will be backlash because I'm not as bangable as the previous host.
But yeah, there's like literally this clip of her going off on people in the chat of their stream for comparing her to like people like Olivia Munn and Morgan Webb.
Oh, didn't she say something like, "Oh, the reason they're mad at me is because I'm not as bangable"?
Yeah, I'm not as bangable as them, and
It's like you haven't really thought that maybe you just got a shitty attitude, and
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Even with that, it's like the thing that's funny about that whole situation is, I don't even think that was about sexism, that whole rant.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to make it seem like it was, but it wasn't. Not really. It was more about the fact that she was projecting her insecurities about how people don't like her. And listen, honey, or not even just, I'm not even going to address her personally, because at the end of the day, I think this isn't just a issue with her. It's issue with a lot of people in media and in business even, where it's like the worst thing you can do is generalize your audience in a very negative and uncharitable light.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, if you do the broad brush technique with everybody and you paint them a certain way, even if they're not doing that, they're going to leave.
yeah,
And right now, G4 TV is in free fall because this one girl on an unprompted rant decided to paint a lot of people as sexist, even though most of them aren't.
yeah.
And it's just that, and really, it just came down to her insecurities, and it had nothing to do, because it really wasn't an issue about sexism. And yes, are there sexists in the game industry? Sure, absolutely.
There's sexist,
But there's sexists everywhere, and all you know how you deal with that? Call those fuckers out. If there's blatant sexism, call it out for what it is. But not everyone's a sexist.
yeah,
Just as not everyone's a fucking racist either.
yeah.
You know, so, and I'm in fact, this is like the most incendiary I think I'm getting on this podcast, but because I'm not trying to make too many. My point ultimately though is that you know, because yeah, it's very important to have a presence online, but you have to have a good presence. You got to make sure you're likable. You got to make sure you have a good product to sell. And if you have an audience, nurture that audience. And then on top of that, if your audience starts to turn a little bit and go, hey, we don't like what you're doing with this, don't fucking respond to them. Go, you're fucking haters.
Yeah.
Dab. Like, don't do
yeah.
that shit. No one likes that.
Yeah.
You need to be likable.
Yeah.
And if no one likes you, no one's you're not going to succeed.
Yep. Yep.
You could listen to the entire episode of the Crooke Candle Podcast. This clip comes from down in the link below. bio.link/Crooke Candle. Our podcast is on pretty much every single distribution you can think of, from Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Launchpad One. And you can also follow us on social media at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can catch new episodes of the Crooke Candle Podcast every Tuesday at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.